Right, chicken and mushroom pie. Right, we're going to start with 540 grams of chicken. There's 150 grams of button mushrooms. There was 20 grams of dried porcini mushrooms, which I've reconstituted in water and drained. Some of that draining water has gone into my chicken stock. So that's a kind of mushroom and chicken stock for making up the sauce for the pie filling. There's a quarter of an onion chopped very finely. I don't want to overpower this with onion because it's quite a nice delicate flavoured pie filling. There's a little squeeze of lemon which we need to balance everything up. There's some thyme, some salt, some pepper. There's some flour for making up the sauce and some oil for frying. The amount of chicken stock you need to make up, just under a pint and then you'll have enough. You probably won't use nearly that, but just have enough made up. You can always use what's left over to make a nice soup or stew later on. I'll go into the pastry when we actually make the pastry, but we're going to do this with Emma's super flaky pastry because it's rude not to, really, and it's just a fantastic pastry recipe. We're going to be using a 9-inch pie tin, so it's going to be a nice big family pie. Okay, my pan's coming nicely up to heat, so I'm going to put in a little bit of oil. So about 2 tablespoons of oil, and into that goes my 1/4 onion. I'm just going to stir and fry that until it goes a little bit translucent. Don't want to burn it. And into that can go my chicken. That's a mixture of breast and thigh meat. And it's entirely up to you if you want to add garlic to this, but it's not traditional in a British chicken and mushroom pie. But I'm just going to add a bit of lazy garlic to it. The equivalent of about 1 large garlic clove. I really do like that. I love garlic with chicken and especially with mushrooms. And I want to introduce some of this flavours early, so I'm going to add in about a teaspoon of thyme, about that much thyme, maybe half a teaspoon. So a sprig of thyme would do if you got fresh thyme, if you're lucky enough to have that. I'm going to add just a bit more than that because I know what flavour I want in this. I love the flavour of thyme with chicken. It also goes well with mushrooms, so we're on to a winner here, aren't we? Garlic and thyme, and those flavours will be balanced by that little squeeze of lemon. So we just keep that moving. Don't worry too much about the fond on the bottom because that'll lift as soon as we put some stock in there. Once your chicken is starting to brown up, we can go in with the mushrooms. I won't add the reconstituted dried mushrooms just yet because they're a bit wet. And I'll get that moving around. The mushrooms will soak up quite a lot of the fat, a lot of the oil. It's a nice big pie filling this is going to be, as you can already see. Although those mushrooms will cook down a little bit. Keep it stirring and frying, you don't want anything to burn. Okay, once you've got a decent sear on the chicken, you want 2 tablespoons of flour, and we start to stir that in and get it mixed in with the oil. Now we can go in with the dried mushrooms. If you don't want to use dried mushrooms, just use another extra 50 grams of mushrooms. And then I'm going to go in with some stock. So I'm just putting in a little bit of stock, about a cupful, and then we'll stir it and see where we are with the pie filling. It doesn't take long, this whole process. I mean, it takes me a little longer because I've got to explain it all, but really if you're doing it yourself at home, it really doesn't take long. And as you see, it's starting to really clag up now, so I'm going to add in a bit more stock, and we'll let that, this is all done over high heat. As long as you keep things moving over high heat, you don't get it burned. But if you walk away, take it off the heat, otherwise it'll burn. So we're also getting a nice colour in from those other mushrooms, which I find rather attractive in this pie. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to add a bit more of my stock. Let me do it that way so you can see. A little bit more. And then we need to get this to the right consistency. If we overdo it a little bit with the stock, don't worry, you just keep cooking it and it'll boil off anyway, and you can get it down to the right consistency for a pie filling. The smells in this kitchen, boys and girls, are just amazing now. Right, I need to go in and have a taste of that now. Have a taste of that. Oh, that is delicious. Well, it's yummy. I'm going to put in some black pepper. As much as you like black pepper. I like loads. Plenty of black pepper for me. I don't think it's going to need much salt. In fact, I'm not going to bother with salt in this because it tastes salty enough from the stock right at this moment. I'll give it another taste in a minute or so. And then another flavour that will help to balance all those flavours is lemon. So I'm just using like about a quarter of a lemon and then squeezing that juice into it. And then lemon works really well with thyme, works really well with chicken. So we got ourselves a really nice thick pie filling right there. And that's the difference between a pie filling and a sauce. You just want it that extra bit thicker. So I'm going in with another last taste, new spoon. It's amazing what that lemon does to it. Really good. I'm going to add a tiny bit more of that lemon if I can get any more out of it. Lovely. And I'm just going to drop that lemon in there and turn that off, and then I'll pull out the lemon just before I put it into the pie, but I want the zesty flavour from that to get into there as well. That will be rather nice. And then as we leave that to stand, it will lift the fond off the bottom of the pan. So now we've got our pie filling done. I'm going to allow that to cool completely before I fill my pie. And that's because I don't really want to work with a hot pie filling. And it's always better that way. And now we'll go on and we'll make the pastry. Alright, for the pastry for this pie, you will need 200 grams of flour. And I'm using 000 flour, it's super fine flour. Really nice, that one. And I'm using 100 grams, so whatever the weight of flour, use half the weight of butter. So 200 grams, 100 grams of butter. The butter has been sat in my freezer because it's a very hot day today here, and I'm going to have to work with it fairly quickly. I've got my 9-inch pie tin, which I am now going to put in some flour and just kick that around. It'll make the whole thing easier to come out of the pie tin later on. Although I haven't really had any problems with Emma's pastry in the past. it seems to pop out the tin quite easily, so I'll just drop the rest of that in there because it won't make much difference, and drop that out of the way. So that's nice and done, and we're bringing the big bowl. In goes our flour. I'm going to want a little pinch of salt in there, not a lot, just a pinch, half a teaspoon. And my grater will go in, and the trick I've learned with this is to get the flour and the butter mixed together, because it makes it all that easier to grate, because it's all going in together. And you grate it right into it. Okay, so I'm going to make a little well in the middle. I'm going to drop in a little splash of water to start with, and then get in there with my fingers, mix it in, see where I am. Don't want to overwork this dough, it's very, very short. So just a little splash at a time. Don't get carried away, because when it starts to come together, that's when it's ready. And without working it too much, I'm not kneading this at all. I'm just bringing it together, picking up any dry bits with the main part of the dough. And I'm kind of happy where that is right now. That's all right. So that dough is now going onto my board, which I need to flour. Get it on there, and I'm going to cut this into two pieces, because we've got the pie bottom and we've got the pie lid. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to turn it into a sausage like that, and then I get my knife. I'm using the blunt end of it actually. So I'm going 1/3, 2/3. That will be the lid, and that will be the base. First thing I want to do is get the pie base together. So there we are, we've got a nice piece for the base and a nice piece for the lid. I'm going to put that aside and work on the base bit first. So let's get that into a nice round shape, and get it floured up well, because we want to be able to work with this quite easily. And then I'm pushing it out a little bit, because I'd rather do that than roll it at this point. And then I'm going to start rolling it, and we'll get that out. Make sure you roll it in all directions, and make sure your roller's floured up as well. It is a warm day, and I can see the butter coming through on there, so it's no big deal. Just scatter it with some flour and roll it out. That's as big as I dare get it, so let me see where I am with my pie tin. I think we can get away with that. So I'm going to fold that over and fold it over again like that, and then what I'll do is I'll introduce my pie tin and unfold it into the pie tin, and then I'm going to work it up the sides. Okay, I've got areas where I've got more than I need, and areas where I've got none, so I'm going to work that into there like that. Same with this side. Alright, I'm fairly pleased with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'll put that to one side and roll out the lid. Excellent pastry recipe. Thanks, Emma. Right, let's get that going. And we're going to roll that out to 9-inch. You can always bring in the pie tin to see where you are. A little push on that direction, I reckon, and we're in. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll get that folded up, ready to put on the pie. Okay, I bring my pie tin and start filling it. And then it's time to put on the lid. So the lid, handle it very carefully. Oh, it's a bit broken in that corner, look. Oh well, we can patch that up, can't we? So let's get that all in. And then I'll take a bit of excess off here to patch that up. It's no biggie. There's a couple of other little holes down here too. I should have made more pastry looking at it. Perhaps should go with 300 grams of pastry. 300 grams of flour and 150 grams of butter. It's a bit of a patchwork, this one, boys and girls. So I'm just going to go into the corners now and pinch around the edges, just where it is. Pinch it in like this. And then I'm going to chop that off on the top by lifting up the pie like that, and then scraping with the back of the knife along the edge. And then what I've got is I've got a little bit more stuff to do my patching with, and places where it's a little bit. And because this is a flaky pastry, the patches won't really make a lot of difference. They'll just look kind of decorative on top. At least that's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. So let's put that where... I think I've just invented the bus-up shot pie topping. Alright, and because this pastry is Emma's flaky pastry, there's no need to brush it with milk, there's no need to do anything with it apart from bake it. One thing I do want to do is go in with my little venter, which is actually an apple corer, and I will take out, oh there you go, I'll just poke it in, and it's poked in the vent in the pie, vent hole. Now what I'm going to do, bearing in mind that the contents are actually cooked, okay, I'm just going to go around the edge of the pie like this, prettying it up a little bit with a fork, just engaging the tines. Then we'll go around here with the fork, just pretty up a little bit. Just dip the fork in flour there to stop it sticking to the butter as it pokes through, because there's a lot of butter showing through the pie here, the pie crust, which is the way it should be. That might not look too pretty now, but I think that's going to look rather good when it's done. So I'm going to take it one last time around the rim just to tidy it up. And then we'll get that in to the oven. I'm going to bake that at 180 degrees for 40 minutes because I think the pie filling's already cooked, it just needs warming up, and it's a rather thin pie tin I'm using, so it'll cook rather quickly. Alrighty then, let's have a look at this pie. Oh yeah, that's looking alright actually. That's not too bad. Nice rustic look to it. It's not quite how I expected it to look, but I think we'll adjust up the amount of pastry you make. I'll adjust that in the ingredients list, which I'll put in the description below this video. Okay, I'll let that cool off a couple of minutes and then we'll carve it up and let you see it. Alright, let's see what this looks like. Getting the first slice out is always the difficult part. And we'll get that out there. Very nice indeed. It's looking nice. I'll now plate one up for my brother. Oh, that's Richard's portion. I think he should enjoy that. Hey friends, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you would like to follow my channel, please subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications for all my future videos. It would be great to hear from you in the comments, and I'll try to get back to as many of you as possible. You may wish to check out these titles or even help me out with a donation using the links in the description below the video. Thanks for watching.